Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
7-footers, welcome back for another exciting jam-packed episode. It is Jenna here.
Yeah, and Jarod, we're out here, man, still managing in these quarantine streets. Although things are starting to open up, people are out here wilding in these streets, acting like we still ain't in a pandemic. I'm like, what are you people doing?
That is the scariest part about it, because it's almost as if we don't know the rules anymore. It's like I actually have to go to like the governor, like I live in Jersey, I have to go to the governor's Twitter just to see what's going on, because I'm like looking at certain people and they're out and I'm like, what's happening in this world? So
people wilding, man.
Yeah.
Look, they've been locked down for 3 months, and so now they think, all right, it's summertime, I'm about to wild out, and it's like, not a good idea.
Exactly. Summer 2020 ain't what it
ain't it.
So
Summer 2020 ain't it.
That's like my new thing. I love saying that. I'm like, that ain't it. All right. But you know what is it? The NBA, it is still happening despite
Sure
the
enough,
COVID madness and everything that's going on. So we need to dive right into it because there is a lot of news. And if you guys haven't been following the NBA, or if you've been following any other league, many athletes are popping up with positive test results of COVID-19 now in what people are calling almost a second surge of COVID-19.
Well, here's the crazy thing, Jenna. We're not done with the first surge yet. So this whole second, I'm like, what do you mean second surge?
Right.
We're still in the first
Right.
surge.
Exactly. People, it's that short attention span. People are over it. So this seems as like it's part 2, but no, we're still in part 1.
Right.
And the most recent news is that Denver Nuggets all-star or all NBA center, I should say, way better than all-star. Nikola Jokic has tested positive for coronavirus in Serbia, and now he's slated to return to the United States, and he's temporarily on hold from traveling, sources have told ESPN. And he tested positive, has been reportedly asymptomatic. And it's interesting, too, because Mike Malone, the Nuggets coach, also tested positive for coronavirus during the NBA's hiatus. So right now, Jokic he's reportedly feeling well, doing well, and just trying to get back to the United States to get to training camp in Orlando. But I don't know what's going to happen there. And as you guys already know, if you haven't, he's lost 40 pounds, transformed his body.
Got abs, got six-pack.
Right, people saw him and they were like, Jokic, where you been, man? Where you been?
The crazy thing is, so he was in Serbia, right? And that's where he tested positive. World number 1 tennis player Novak Jokic, who was also Serbian, tested positive for COVID-19. And those two were together a week ago, right? There was a picture circling around the internet with those two, meeting up, just saying what's up, what have you. And I'm not saying that they contracted it from each other, but I mean, whatever. Like,
a coincidence.
Right. It's a coincidence, right? They both are. Novak and his wife tested positive, and Nikola also tested positive. So look, it's crazy out there. And the reality is we still don't know what the long-term effects are on these athletes, right? I keep saying this over and over. I'm going to say it again, people. It is called the novel coronavirus for a reason. Novel because we don't know nothing about it, right? Like we know very, very little, and it's new, right? So again, I'm not being alarmist or whatever. It's just that we don't know enough about it yet to be like, you can do X, Y, and Z. Everything's cool. There are some things we definitely do know, and we'll get to that in a bit. But it's just all interesting. And now with Jokic testing positive, even though he is asymptomatic, that will delay his arrival into the States because the teams are all slated to start heading to Orlando later this week. And so, listen, we talked about already this whole NBA and Orlando bubble thing. We're gonna see some stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's very interesting too, because the last episode that we taped, which you guys should go check it out if you haven't, is almost an extension of this. It was our introduction and our excitement of the NBA returning, and then all of a sudden, all of this news comes. I mean, remember, Jarod, side note, when we were going to the summer, as we do when we go into every summer, we say, the news is going to be slower. Let's rework our schedule when we tape. Now it's like news is popping up everywhere, and it has nothing to do with the game because of this this coronavirus pandemic and, you know, these players falling ill with the virus. So like we said, Jokic is asymptomatic reportedly, but still, you brought up a good point. We don't know the effects on these athletes after when they put themselves in these environments of this fast pace, hit the floor running, cardio, heart racing. You know, it's not like the common cold that it goes away. Again, I don't know what it is. So it's going to be interesting. And the health personnel that they're going to have in Orlando is unbelievable. I hate to say this, but I am seeing this question a lot before we dive into a lot here. People are almost saying, and when I say people, I mean fans, you know, other journalists, other reporters, is it worth it to return this season with everything happening?
Well,
and I mean everything as in coronavirus. I mean everything as in police brutality. Let's not sugarcoat it. I mean everything as in systematic oppression. Everything. As much as we love the NBA, I am seeing this question pop up. Should we even return?
Well, you know, Jenna, that's an interesting question. It's loaded, right? There's no simple answer. I mean, is it worth it? Well, to the players and the owners, yeah. Just strictly from a capitalist, there's a financial incentive to return. Again, if they don't finish out this season, the remaining money on that TV deal for this year does not get paid out. Why does that matter? Because the salary cap is set based on revenues earned the prior year. So next year's season salary cap will be determined based on how much money was taken in this year. They already lost a bunch of money off of the gate receipts and all the in-person fans buying tickets and concessions and all that. That money's already gone. Let us not forget the Hong Kong issue with Daryl Morey. They lost money from that too. If they don't finish this season, that's even more money they lose, which will have a catastrophic effect on next season's CBA, which will then mean the owners can implement what is known as the term called force majeure, right? Which then eradicates the current CBA and forces a brand new negotiation to bargain on a new CBA. So those are scenarios that the players definitely don't want and the owners likely don't want, right? So it's problematic. So yeah, dollars. Like, you know, I was shout out to True Hoop, you know, we do our Bring It In show, and I always, you know, write in the chat, CREAM, cash rules everything around me, right? I mean, that's what this is, man. We about these dollars. Like, don't fool yourself. The NBA is a corporation, right? With 30 mini corporations inside of it. And guess what they care about? Dollar bills, y'all. That's what this thing's about. And the players want their money. The question that you're asking, Jenna, though, is how do you judge and value the money versus players' health, human life, versus what's going on in the world? Mind you, it isn't even just owners getting their money, whatever. You have to also think about players in catastrophic injury. Jason Tatum is due for an extension this offseason. Well, what if he gets hurt in this thing? The players who are free agents looking to cash in this summer, right? There are so many different things at play here. I will say the majority of players seem like they want to come back and play. And that's what they are. They're athletes. They want to play, and I get it. But what we're seeing, and then to your point, what's going on in the world? I mean, Black Lives Matter, the end of police brutality, because, you know, systemic racism and systematic oppression, sure. I mean, those are all big, flowy things. Let's get to the heart of the matter. The state-sanctioned murdering of Black people, like, that needs to stop. And that's what these players want to make happen. And LeBron's doing his voter drive, all these things to help in that way. Can you do both? Sure, you can do both, right? I mean, it's just, there's so much going on here, and it's a lot, man. And the NBA right now is in a precarious situation because in Florida, Orange County, Disney World, where they're going, guess what? Cases are spiking over there, okay? NBC Sports' Tom Haberstroh tweeted out today, or he retweeted what a particular person in Florida was releasing. And the Florida Department of Health every day until this morning, published a daily 100-plus page document with granular details about each county's coronavirus testing, the infections, and hospitalization rates, right? 100 pages every day. That's a lot of detail. Now, it's a 4-page document with almost all the details being removed. That sounds like a problem to me, right? That sounds like somebody not wanting to let all the information out. Well, we're journalists, so our skeptical hats are on. Well, why are you releasing less information? Are you trying to hide something? What are you hiding, right? Is it, in fact, the number of cases, as we know, are spiking, and they're literally walking into the lion's den, which, by the way, mind you, players are likely, as Nikola Jokic did, they're all getting tested right now at their facilities before they head down to Orlando. We're going to find out a bunch more positive tests before we even get there.
Oh, 100%. And that's going to be the next chaotic flow of news when we see all of these names come up that have potentially tested positive for COVID-19. So we're just hearing the surface level of it at the moment, or the people that happen to be finding out their diagnosis. But it's going to be a lot more chaotic in the weeks coming, which brings me to more questions here, because we have players opting to sit out. For example, Trevor Ariza, he has made it clear on the Blazers that he's going to sit out. He has a newborn son, a young son. So, and we have Davis Bertans from the Wizards. He's opting out of Orlando as well. So we have these players that are deciding not to play, and potentially, you know, players for other reasons. Kyrie Irving, Dwight Howard wanting to put all of their focus on fighting, you know, for important causes that we're seeing in the world going on right now, police brutality and everything, Black Lives Matter, which is incredible. And then you have the players like LeBron James, who is doing all of his work within voting, within Black Lives Matter, but he says, let's play, we can do both. So which brings me to my question. So when and if we all go down to Orlando and we have all of these teams, is the competition even going to be a correct, I shouldn't say correct, an accurate depiction of a playoff competition if you have stars like Trevor Ariza sitting out? What if Kyrie Irving decides not to play? That's a huge loss.
So here's the thing, right? Like, Kyrie was already out for the season anyway, so he wasn't playing regardless. So there's that piece of it. Trevor Ariza, you know, the Blazers likely aren't going to catch the Grizzlies in the Western Conference. But to your point about competition level, I have to assume that once these guys lace it up and get on the court, that's who they are. They're competitors. So their automatic competition drive is going to kick in, and they're going to do what they do and play hard. The question you're going to ask is, well, is it, you know, is it an asterisk type of a championship? And that's what's going to start coming up. I will say this, actually. If you win, I don't think it's an asterisk. I think it's a monumental feat because of what's going on with this whole pandemic. Because think about it this way. Yes, when it's playoff time, you know, you hunker down. You know, LeBron famously does his 0 dark 30. He goes off social media. He's just focused on the playoffs. But you still you travel from your home town, or your home arena where your team plays, to your road games, depending on how long you stay. Yes, you're with your team on your road, but, you know, if you've got a friend in town or whatever, you can go hang out with that person, what have you. When you are back home, you can spend time with your family. It ain't going to be like that in the bubble. You with these people for the duration, however long you go. So I'm always thinking the team, let's say it's the Bucks and the Clippers, right? And let's say the Bucks lose in 7 games. Yo, how mad are they all going to be? They were quarantined for all that time around these people. Everybody's getting on your nerves. You don't have no outlet to get out. And we just lost the NBA Finals in 7 games. Man, people might lose it, right? So I think, like, it'll be for the winner, it's going to be great. But this will be for the loser of the NBA Finals. Woo, boy, this ain't going to be good.
I completely agree with you. And I also do agree with you when you say it's not so much an asterisk, or it's not so much, and you'll have this argument, of course,
right.
You know, it wasn't a fair shot. We didn't have XYZ players. We had the situation. We didn't have time to prepare. We didn't have time to train properly. Whatever.
Good time.
But going through all of this is a huge, if not the biggest mental test of most of these guys' careers, right? And I told you a couple days ago, I was talking to Shaq, and I specifically wanted to save this for the 7 Footers podcast because he brought up a really interesting point. He said, you know, if that were me going down in the bubble per se, it would throw me off because personally, as a player, a big man, a big guy who feeds off of the love of the fans, the looking behind, he mentioned this, the looking behind my seat on the bench when I'm off the floor and looking at a kid smiling, looking at a family taking pictures and making someone's day, and all the extra things that go into being a player that you don't get. The kind of endorphin releasing moments that these guys have that propel them to be so iconic. Because let's face it, physical and mental aspect of the game, it's so intertwined now. You can't just be so well mentally and not good physically and vice versa. So anyway, back to Shaq's point, he said, I'm someone who feeds off the crowd. I'm someone who feeds off the arena workers. I always shake the security guard's hands going in and out, this and that. So it's going to be a true test to have these guys locked in with, imagine hearing every slam on the court, every bounce, every screech. It's really going to be a mental test.
It'll be interesting. I'm with you. I hear what Shaq's saying. I think, it's funny. My cousin and I were having this conversation because I was talking about how the reality of this is like, look, this is the template and the blueprint for if the NBA players ever one day decide we can start our own league. We don't need the owners because all owners have are arenas. That's really all they're right. They have the arenas. But if the players can get together and be like, where are all the people who actually matter, the talent on court? We can go play at a soundstage somewhere. We can go figure something out. The challenge that you bring up is the fan component. As I said, I talked to my cousin about this, and there is something visceral about the emotion and feeding off the crowd, right? Like that home and road advantage that we talk about and what that actually means, right? It's different when you're playing in a pack. Let's say this is Golden State at its heyday, right? And you had them down 20. And, in the span of a minute and a half, Steph, Clay, and KD hit 5 threes, right? Well, that 20-point lead is now down to 5, right? And you're the road team, and it's at what then Oracle. You're hearing the fervor and the crowd getting so amped, right? That emotion does play on you as the visitor. Now, the best players, right, like your Kawhis, your top end, your LeBrons, that ain't gonna bother them, right? Because they're used. But there is something about that, like for maybe a role guy, right? So maybe a role guy on the road team, he might start feeling it a little bit in the throat and get a little tense, right? But in an empty gym, you ain't gonna have that. Conversely, when you're home and you're down 20 and you hit a couple of shots and the crowd gets you amped up and all of a sudden you start playing better defense or whatever, and that doesn't happen now because you can't feed off of that. People talked about, I don't know how to quantify how much of it actually helps and matters. I don't know. Like, honestly, at the end of the day, the best people generally win, right? Like the best team and the best players generally perform the best and win. How much of an effect the crowd and that momentum has, but I hear the point about, yes, it feels different, right? Whether it is actually different, I don't know.
I mean, in the short, going to Orlando, let's face it, home court advantage is done.
Yeah,
there's no home court advantage. There's nothing like that. And also, like you said too, the players, your players like LeBron, Kawhi, PG, 13,
all those guys,
all those guys, it's gonna be the younger guys in the test of these young rookies or these second-year players, sophomore, who are really gonna be tested mentally with this. And the trash talk is going to be at an all-time high. So let's maybe mic these guys up and let's hear it.
That's what we want. I don't know that Adam wants mics because we're gonna hear some. I mean, because we're often down there and courtside and we hear things and it's like a lot of that stuff is not suitable for television. All right, because it's an alpha male environment, a lot of testosterone flying, high competitiveness. Like people say wild stuff out there on the floor, in the heat of competition. So now it'd be fun because it's just competition, whatever. But I'm sure someone might find some reason to object.
And oh, for sure. And shifting gears a little bit, because we got to talk about the tracking of COVID-19 and the potential symptoms. We have a hotline made by the NBA that is AKA the snitch line that you can call in.
Anonymously.
AKA, you know, did you see all the memes that LeBron, like, hey, I saw XYZ players
It's definitely
here.
Giannis and Kawhi out here with no masks on.
No mask. Unbelievable. Like, there's an actual hotline, which I commend the NBA for crossing their teeth, dotting their I's. But I would like to be the person working on that.
Well, what we need to do is release the tapes that who calls, right? Because again, the hotline's anonymous, so you don't got to say your name. All you got to do is be like, I don't know. I heard that LeBron's gonna be by the teacup ride. I'm not saying anything's going on, but you might want to go check out, see what's happening over there. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, that stuff's hilarious. Like, and
so funny.
We're gonna need to find some fun and some humor in a situation that, look, we're happy basketball is back, but there's trepidation. As I've said a billion times, we're allowed to be nervous about this, and frankly, I am. Right? Like, and the NBA has not said it will shut down if depending on what kind of outbreaks happen. Look, if you get a spread and all 20 teams, right, all of a sudden you got 2 on this one, 3, that's an outbreak in the bubble. Then you got to stop, right? And again, remember, not all the Disney employees are going to be quarantined in the bubble. A lot of them are going to be going back to their homes in Orange County, where the COVID is spiking.
Right.
You know.
And that's an interesting point you bring up too, because we haven't seen too much of we've seen all these reports, we've seen all these rumors, but we haven't seen much of okay, what happens if we really got to hit the red alert button and a team spikes or something happens within the bubble? And again, I'm sure they have these discussions behind the scenes and different things happening, but we as the people, us as journalists,
right,
even the fans, we need to know. We're concerned as well.
That part we do know, right? Because I've been in touch with people in the league.
Yeah, what do you know? What's happening?
They have not answered that question, which means they don't plan to shut down, right? Like, I even saw Kendrick Perkins talk about this earlier today, that guys, players testing positive, the NBA knew this. This is why they're testing the players now before they go, so they can set up the protocol. It's like, that's one piece of it. But again, still, like, even with this wrist tracker they're going to be wearing that has like their how they get in and out of their rooms and all that.
They have like a ring or something.
A ring, yeah, some kind of thing that allows them to get in and out. You're still not able. It's not a bubble, because a true bubble, you're locking people in. They aren't locked in. People can get in and out and access. And we joke about, flying girls in and whatever, but let's keep it 100. That's probably going to happen, right? Like, I mean, and you don't know what's going on with these people they're bringing in. We have no idea. And to bring it, so we have the COVID piece, right? The other piece that I thought was interesting, you talked about Kyrie and Dwight Howard and their whole position about Black Lives Matter and what we should be thinking about something smells fishy, Kyrie said, and, while we're rushing back. And Kyrie's getting a lot of the heat. And, look,
he always gets the heat.
But rightfully so, because it is fair to say he is the man that says flat earth, right? So you can bring that up, right? That is fair. However,
it's definitely brought up.
Right, because he said it. I will say this, however. What he and Dwight, the position they're bringing, there is some validity to that. The idea that there may be players in the Players Association. Remember, there's only 450 players in the league. Younger guys, rookies, second-year players who feel like they got to just go along with what LeBron, Chris Paul, right, and all the big guys say they're doing, right? There is something to that, right? They feel that they can't speak out because, listen, LeBron and those dudes kind of run the show, right? That's kind of how this goes.
As Pat Beverly said, LeBron wants to play.
We playing, right?
We playing.
Right? So there's some validity to Kyrie and Dwight being like, look, we're giving voice to the guys who may not feel comfortable. I mean, think about yourselves, our audience, and whoever, right? Everyone's working remotely. Let's say it's not Zoom and you're on a conference call or whatever. And your boss asks, okay, anybody have any questions or any concerns about this thing? How many of you actually raise your hand and be like, I have a concern about this?
Right,
Most of you don't, right? Because you're afraid to speak out, right? But if you're a top person at the company, you feel you have that level of, I can do that because I'm not worried about job security. And it's different in the NBA because they're not worried about job security, but you get my analogy there, right?
Yeah.
Rookies in second years are like, I don't know, man. LeBron and these guys kind of say, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
LeBron's going to come at me in Orlando.
Whatever it is, right? So if Dwight and Kyrie are doing this and giving a voice to those other players, hey, and the NBA has said, if a player decides they don't want to go, there's no repercussion. Now, there's a financial repercussion, of course. You ain't going to get your game checks because you're not going, okay?
And that's the other double-edged sword, though, too. It's these young guys, too, who are like, listen, I'm providing for my family. I just signed a big contract. I need to play to keep my lights on.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like someone like Kyrie and Dwight who've earned a lot of money, or your top-end guys, them not getting game checks for the rest of the year ain't going to stop them. If you're a rookie or if you're someone making $5 million, no, you need your regular checks coming in because you got to keep paying things, right? One thing that has not stopped during COVID, mortgage, rent, car notes, those bills I didn't get no note in the mail saying you got to pay no bills. Right?
Ain't nobody told me nothing. They're still climbing up my bank account.
Exactly.
I'm still seeing it come out. Okay?
Exactly. So we need the money so we can pay these things, right? So listen, I get it. It's tough all around. Look, they're gonna do. It's happening, right? We're playing. The question is going to be, what is going to happen if, and likely when, we start seeing breakouts in the bubble during this time period? Because an epidemiologist said this. Look, no plan is foolproof or 100% safe with zero risk. That's just that can't happen. But you want to have protocols in place. And again, the only thing we don't know is if a mini outbreak happens or what do they even classify as an outbreak, right?
Right. How many people are what?
Right. Is it 3 players on all the teams? How do they classify what? And then what is the protocol for shutting that down? Those are questions that we should have answers to now and not wait to do when it actually does happen.
Right. I mean, we've all, never seen a situation like this or with something like this. So I can't even imagine the conversations that are going on behind the scenes and the players and the different opinions and everybody has validity to their opinion.
Sure.
There is no wrong opinion. If you do not want to go to this bubble, there is a reason why the NBA is not disciplining anyone for that, aside from, financial costs as well.
Right.
But everybody brings up great points. And I also wanted to mention this just to have that on the record, that side note, it's a true testament to Dwight Howard, specifically his choice, saying that he would give it all up with the chance to win a championship with the Lakers after he fought so hard to get back to the league. That says a lot about him and how loyal he is to the fight that he wants to fight with Black Lives Matter.
100%.
So I do commend him for that, and everybody may not agree with everyone, but there is validity behind these points.
No doubt. I think, unfortunately, and it's people always talk about right message, wrong messenger, right? And it's unfortunate that Dwight and Kyrie's past sins, and I put that in quotes, like not whatever, are being held against them. But as I said before, we are allowed to be like, Dwight, you are that guy that did X, Y, and Z, right? Like, Kyrie, you were that guy that's right. So we are allowed to say that because those things are on record and happens. But we do this thing in society where we once a this, always a this, right? And I think we need to not do that. We need to allow people to be malleable, right? And change and grow and improve and get better, right?
That's part of life.
We can bring up the things in their past and we can be like, this is a good point. Right now, if you're an NBA player, you can choose or not choose to follow them. That is your right. You can be like, I ain't rolling with these two dudes. They're nuts. But I think you can be like, hey, Kyrie and Dwight brought up valid points, right? And their points are in fact valid.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And you may not have to agree, but like we said, they're fighting a great fight and a hard fight for a reason, and a very good reason. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And also, side note, we're seeing also reports that DeMarcus Cousins is turning down teams because he's wanting to recover from obviously, injury.
Yeah, he's done. He's gonna worry about it next season, the 2020-2021 season, which, by the way, who even knows what that season's gonna look like? First of all, when's it even starting?
Right.
Like, I know that it's beginning of December, but I don't see. I mean, what? Like, listen. And we always talk about during crisis, there's opportunity for things, right? This is an opportunity next season. I mean, I know the NBA is so focused on right now and finishing the 2019-2020 season. I get it. But you can look forward to 2020-21 because you have to now reimagine the future of basketball, what it's going to look like. It's going to look very different because I don't know when we're ever going to – I don't want to say ever. I don't know when we're going to get to the point again where we're back in packed arenas with 20-something thousand plus people. Let's put it like this. I don't see it happening this calendar year. Definitely not in 2020. Sometime in 2021. I don't know when. Right? So Adam in the league, I know they're doing this, needs to reimagine what might this look like in the future. Right? And how do we, because the game is the game, but how do we do it so that we keep fans and all, because that's important, right? That's a big part of it. We need to keep eyeballs on the product, people in the arenas, all that, but that may look different. And how do we reimagine that? It'll be interesting.
Very much so. On a last note, speaking of Adam Silver, this is going to be, I'm not even going to say going to be, this will be the legacy he leaves behind. After
presiding over COVID.
It's all said and done, and we also forget, seeing as 2020 seems like a terrible lifetime, Kobe Bryant's death and how the NBA handled that as well. I mean, the way Adam
Kobe's
Silver,
death seems so long ago, but it was in January. Like, it wasn't that long ago.
I can't, literally.
It's crazy.
Just the way he handles this whole calendar year alone may be the only thing people talk about in Adam Silver's illustrious career.
Well,
so,
this and getting rid of Donald Sterling as a Clippers owner. Those are probably the two big things. It'll be Corona and getting rid of Donald Sterling. Those are probably the two,
I try to erase from my mind.
Those are
those
are the two things, right? I mean, the two biggest issues. And again, this is all going to look different. What COVID has done, it's accelerated timelines, right? Like, the last 3 months, in a sense, feels like 10 years, right? In some ways, like, and
so much. And
are we where, if you're the NBA, who you're as a person, whatever your business, are you where you want to be, right? That's what it seemed like. It's done. It's sped it up and like, okay, are we where we need to be, right? And people should be doing those examinations, right? People, businesses, whatever, just really think about these things. So. I don't know.
100%. Hey, that's a great note to leave off on, Jarod, would you say?
Listen, I try to give the people some philosophical things to, let that percolate.
You do. Oh, you blow my mind every time you speak. I'm like, where do you learn this word? Now I gotta go look this up. Like, gosh, everything is a lesson.
Reading is fundamental, kids. That's all I can say.
Yes, it is. So keep it up. And we will keep up with communicating with you guys on a regular basis. We will keep you guys posted on everything happening within the NBA and all the good news you guys need to get. So, Jarod, tell them where they can find us.
You guys know Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're on Twitter at 7footerspod, on Instagram at 7footerspodcast, at JS Hector, at Gentleman Selly. You know what to do. All the follows, all the subscribes. And look, Jenna, we got basketball coming back. This is going to be a very different summer for us, right? Like, normally in the summertime, we got the draft, summer league, whatever, and then we're like free agency. And it's like, but now it's like, well, we're going to be deep into like August, September, October, talking about NBA finals. It's going to be a little strange.
The timeline, this is my brain. This is going to be my brain, literally.
Yeah.
So, we are with you guys every step of the way, and it's not going to be easy, but it still will be fun, and we will try to keep it as lighthearted as possible while still giving you guys the best news and the hottest takes. Jarod's always bringing it. So
I got thoughts.
We got it. You got thoughts. Every time you text me, like, I got to talk. I'm like, oh, God, we gotta talk.
That's how it goes, people. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come